Good evening and welcome to Sports Federation TV. I'm your host Alton Davids, and today, as part of our first program for 2015, we're chatting a bit about life saving. The NSRI will be in studio chatting about what they've done over this last festive period. We check out the SA and national yacht racing and international yacht racing that happened at the Theowaterskloof Dam, and we catch up with Hoosain Narker and we chat about karate. But first, before we go any further, good evening, Dr. Cleve Robertson. How are you?
Alton, very well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us in studio.
No, absolute pleasure.
NSRI, what does it stand for? What do you do?
The National Sea Rescue Institute is a national institute that its object is saving lives on South African waters. So we have a host of rescue services at 38 stations now around the coast and inland. So the one program is really reactive rescue services along the coastline. The other is an education program. We teach kids water safety, basic self-rescue techniques. So if kids get into trouble when they're swimming in the rivers or dams, they can help themselves. And then very basic CPR. So if there's real trouble, they can call for help. They know what numbers to call, and they can do CPR.
Okay, that's a mouthful, Cleve. Let's start at the front. Let's talk about, you mentioned reactive rescue. What does that entail? Give us an example.
So we've got, we'll have a kite surfer that's in trouble off Melkbos Beach. We'll get a call normally through the port captain's office, although we've just started call taking now through 112 on the cellular networks. That goes through to the Maritime Rescue Coordinating Centre in Tygerberg, through to the PC. He gets hold of the local station commander and they respond a boat out, and they go and either if they have to search for the kite surfer or if he's in trouble, they go and rescue them. So that kind of boat rescue service.
So let's break it down a bit. You talk about a local depot, for want of a better term. What did you call
Stations.
it? Station. Are those stations manned 24 hours a day, or how does that operation work?
No, so this is a service that's run entirely on volunteers. So I've got over 900 volunteers along the coast. So they'll get an SMS on their phone. They'll respond to the base. There's a skipper, a coxswain on the boat. They'll all group together as a team on a boat. There may be more than one boat per station. And they'll respond out to do the rescue with that. There's obviously shore-based personnel that control that rescue, so there's people that do the communications, and that make you coffee when you come back, and those kinds of essential things. And look after the safety of the crew at sea, because obviously their responsibility is to look after the crew while they're out there.
Generally, what would you say is the reaction time from the time a call comes in till the boat is dispatched?
Look, we have a reaction time at about 15 minutes, so and that's quite tight for a volunteer crew to get there and launch the boat 15 minutes. You'll find in the season when people are on holiday and in summertime and on weekends, some of the volunteers live at the stations. It becomes very much a family and a social space because of the commitment that they have to the service. So the availability is a lot better, and their response times are obviously a lot better in that context. During the week and obviously at night, those times might be a bit slow.
Yeah, but I mean, that's still phenomenal for 15 minutes to launch.
That's pretty good to be able to launch in that time.
And then those guys are obviously not remunerated because you say it's a volunteer program.
Correct.
How does one get involved into that volunteer program? Let's explore this a bit.
A lot of the recruitment is local, so we have a very good media profile. You'll see our red and yellow boats on the front page of the newspapers. We've got a good Twitter and Facebook following. So a lot of the recruitment of crews is local. A lot of it's families. I mean, the NSRI is a very family space. So you'll find a lot of the crew come from members of the station, and from that reputation, people are keen to get involved. It's an exciting thing to get involved in. It's a good way to give back to the community. It's a good way to support the community in many aspects, and in this aspect, sport. There are a lot of water sports out there, and our philosophy is that you should go out there, do your sport, and we'll be available to come and rescue if they're in trouble. Obviously, you should be doing your stuff safely as possible. And wearing PFDs, wearing life jackets, wearing wetsuits, doing things safely, but we're there to come and rescue you.
Should someone get into trouble?
Should you get into trouble?
Well, what's the kind of training that one needs to go through as a volunteer?
It's quite extensive. I mean, they go through a lot of training, and it's a time commitment. So, in order to be a crew member, there's several courses you go through, and that takes hours and hours of both, theoretical training. We've just put all our training on an e-learning platform, so you can do it on your phone now, and iPad, and in your own time, which is much better. Yeah. So that we can actually focus on the time at sea, because that's really it's the thing that people enjoy. And that practical experience is probably the most valuable, in the training that you can do. So there's crew training, and then you go on to become a coxswain and a leader, and then later on, obviously, take over command of a station, manage a station, which is management experience. So it's an extensive training program that people go through to be able to get to see and do rescues. And we put an age limit at the moment of 18, but we're looking at trying to lower that down to 16. A 16-year-old's as good as an adult, probably fitter. So we're looking at lowering that age limit, and then we're also looking at introducing a junior academy from 13 to 16, so that by the time you get to 16, you're almost fully trained and can be deployed operationally.
And where do you find a lot of these volunteers come from in terms of career space? Are they just, like you said earlier, they're family of someone who's already involved, and they just have a passion for sea and rescue, or what would you say is the general
Correct.
trend?
I mean, I think it's people that have a passion for the rescue environment and for the ocean, so they combine those two things. And for people, these are people that have a passion for helping people. And it's a hell of a commitment. I mean, to be available 24/7, to go out all times of the day and night, and to go to sea when everybody else comes off the sea. I mean, sea rescue goes to sea when the weather's at the worst, when it's the coldest, it's the most uncomfortable, it's rough. I mean, the Claremont rescue last year was an example. Robben Island in the middle of the night in a howling northwest gale. Guys go out there, 3 boats at the same time. It's a hell of a commitment.
Absolutely, and takes a lot of muscle as well, because it's not just for the faint-hearted, but you need quite a bit of energy to do all of this.
And it's that kind of wellness and physical side of it as well. We're trying to get guys to stay fit, so it motivates people to run, jump and swim. We have a fitness program, so we try to get them to meet fitness requirements every year so that you stay fit. I mean, certainly you'll be safer, and I think your quality of life improves when you're doing sport and when you're staying fit and mean and lean.
Absolutely. So let's move off from that for a bit, and tell me a bit about the educational side of what your NSRI does.
Okay, so we target mainly rural schools. At the moment, we've got 12 educators around the country, so they'll organize an education session with a local school. And when I say a local school, it's like a farm school. There are 50 kids in the school, and they target the young kids, junior school, go into the classroom. And I mean, I always enjoy it. The first question they ask is, how many you can swim, And everybody in the classroom, all these little kids put their hand up. And then you say, well, how many can swim when the water's this deep? Kind of half. And then how many when it's this deep? And none of the hands. And you realize that none of these kids in that environment can actually swim. And so it's very important to teach them water awareness, and that's what that program does. So that in a very short session of 2 hours in that classroom, the teacher stands there and they go through this program of how to plan to go to the water, what to do when you got there, what to take with, what do you do when somebody gets into trouble, what the emergency numbers, and in the rural areas we use 10177 because EMS are probably the best available to respond, and then basic CPR. So in a very short contact session. I mean, they're vibrant sessions, the kids love it. And I think those kids that you teach probably give that information to another 10 people at home. So it goes to the family and the immediate environment. So that teaching goes far beyond the experience, that they've gone through.
And that's the vital part, is that the message needs to be spread across far and wide. I mean, you only have so many hands, and so to get that message
Correct.
across.
I mean, to me, swimming and floating even is a life skill. And I mean, I used to fight with people in rural areas who said we don't have any water. But when the water comes in a rural area like Laingsburg, we know how fast it comes. So it's even more important to. And let's face it, kids when it's hot and 50 degrees in the inland, they're going to swim. And so it's very important to teach them water safety. And we've trained to date more than 600,000 children in being water wise, as we call it.
But not only in the rural areas, you look at, you ride down the end to Kalicha, there's a little puddle, and all the kids are playing in the water, and you tend to think like, do these guys have some kind of water safety training?
They don't, and I mean, in my rescue experience previously, we were the people that dived those kids that drowned out. So I mean, we've tried to translate that experience into preventing that thing kind of happen. Prevent kids from getting onto a piece of foam, drifting out into the middle of a puddle. And you're right, in Kalicha it can be, 2 meters deep, and they drown in very shallow water. So it's that kind of awareness that just makes them think twice about going in the water.
Clive, let's take a short ad break, and when we come back, we'll chat more NSRI. See you now. Welcome back. This is Sports Federation TV. We're chatting NSRI. We're chatting about how to be safe on and off the water. We're chatting about how the NSRI and the work that they do to make our lives easier and to keep us safe. Clive, we've touched on the education side. We've touched on the stations. Tell us a bit. What else do you do as the NSRI?
Well, clearly we're there to support sport as well. So, for example, in a surf ski environment, there's surf ski races, there's these downwind races down the coast and things. So we have an important role in safety advocacy. So, what color to paint your ski, wearing PFDs, carry a cell phone in a waterproof pouch, those kinds of issues, so that people can go out to sea, do their sport and come back safely. A lot of sports like that. I mean, and it's just awareness about those very basic issues. You often find a guy 2-3 miles out to sea, no wetsuit, no cell phone, no flares, nothing, and then they get into trouble. It happened to a guy off the Greenpoint Wall the other night. I mean, he was going on a routine paddle, got into big trouble, wasn't wearing a wetsuit, in 10 degrees water, in a very short time you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
So it's quite basic safety information, but again, we're there to support guys. If they do get into trouble, we'll respond and fetch you.
In a case like that, how do you respond? How do you even get notified from that? A passerby or as you say, the guy, no form of communication?
That's it. So, I mean, if a guy's not able to communicate directly via his cell phone, then it'll be a member of the public that either sees them get into trouble or sees the distress flare. And often there's a lot of luck involved in that. I mean, some of the small boating accidents and things like that, miles offshore, and some guy just happens to be standing on a sand dune and sees that flare go off.
Yeah.
Very important.
That's an interesting point. Now take me through, are you guys involved in evaluating whether boats are safe? Or is that someone else's responsibility? Because you're often at the tail end of this whole thing where a boat gets into trouble and you've got to do the rescue, but the boat is not seaworthy. Are you involved in that kind of thing?
Not directly. I mean, that's SAMSA, the South African Maritime Safety Authority's responsibility. So there are requirements for boats. I mean, the important thing about a boat is that it must float. Because once you capsize, and I mean, this season we've been through a number of incidents of boat capsizes, it's very important that the boat can float in a platform that you could get out of the water onto and hold on to, while you wait for the rescue. And I think that's probably one of the more important safety aspects of a boat that people often don't think of.
Yeah.
The second issue is you must wear your life jacket. And I think one of the biggest problems over the years has been that life jackets have been bulky and these horse collar things that people don't wear them because they're uncomfortable. So I think the new regulations accommodate PFDs, it's a more jacket type life jackets, which are more comfortable and people wear them. It's very important to wear your life jacket because you never know when you're going to capsize. And I mean, being able to float in the water is really important. And then the other things we talked about, communication, the flares, and having a cell phone in a waterproof pouch so that you can call for help.
But the problem is a life jacket's not sexy and cool. And I think that's part of the problem. The other problem is that an old fisherman's going to say, why do I need it? Nothing's ever happened.
It's very sexy and cool when you're drowning, believe me.
Well, that's the thing.
And I think that's the message that you got to get out there. And I think if we can make life jackets comfortable enough and make them easy to work with and fish with and do it, then people will wear them. I mean, you find now the surf ski paddlers, those guys, kite surfers are all wearing very good, personal safety equipment. And so I think they've learnt. I mean, those are harsh sports. I mean, you get whacked, in a kite surfer hard enough, you'll know that you're going to wear your protector, you're going to wear your PFD and all those issues. So I mean, those guys have learnt. I think the boaters have got a lot to learn. The sailors are good. I mean, you find particularly dinghy sailors, they're all wearing PFDs. I think the open ocean sailors, those guys probably need to wear an inflatable life jacket, which is really it's a horse collar thing, but it's small and streamlined. I think they need to wear their life jackets, but I think we've come a long way.
So there's vast improvements over the last year, 2 years?
I think people are buying in, and I think they realize, it's about yourself, but not only about you, it's about your family. If you go, who's going to look after your family? And I think people are coming to that realization, and I mean, it's not a huge burden to, one, buy the life jacket and to wear it and to comply with these very basic safety standards.
I must be honest, I don't see lots of marketing relating to life jackets and all of those kinds of things. Is that the responsibility of the manufacturers or an organization like yourself?
Well, I mean, some of it's out there. I mean, as I say, we've got good exposure on all the social media and all those issues are in there. But you're right. I mean, those things could be much better marketed in terms of safety.
Okay. Clive, we're going to take a look at your YouTube clip on who and what you are. Let's take a look and see what the NSRI is about. Let's check it out.
We love the sea, but our love of the sea comes from a deep respect and understanding her many moods, from the great storms and winds that whip spray meters over the surface to those tranquil, glassy days. Many of us grew up on the beaches. We spent hours playing in the shallows and sometimes learned things the hard way. Our fathers taught us about the waves and the currents, and some of us learned to surf. We still spend many hours in or on the water, but now we train. We practice doing the same things again and again until it is second nature. Most of us join sea rescue as youngsters. None of us are paid a cent for what we do. We do it because we care. Without you, we would not be able to take our rescue boats out. It is your donation, put together with more than 60,000 others, most of whom donate 50 Rand each month, that makes this such a proud organization. It is your generosity that allows us to launch our rescue boats when they are most needed. Many children are not as fortunate as we were. To try and give them the understanding of the dangers that we learned about, sometimes without even knowing that we were learning, we started the Waterwise Academy. And we hope, like us, these children will grow up to love and respect the sea. And someday, perhaps they too will join our sea rescue family.
Cleve, that was quite inspirational to see that there's many different aspects to what you do. What else makes your job exciting as the CEO of this organization?
I mean, I think it's the support we get from the community, and I think that video highlights that we depend on society to fund a volunteer organization, of 100 vessels, 38 boats and 900 people. It's really that spirit that comes to keep us on the water that's really exciting. And it comes in 25 Rand a month amounts. I mean, that's the amazing thing.
Rough idea in terms of your budget, what would the total budget for your organization be?
About 100 million Rand a year, so that's a lot of money to raise every year.
Sure.
So I mean, that comes from a diverse range of funding streams. So there's corporate funding, we have corporate partners that obviously fund some of the administration, but most of it's from individual donors from all over the country. And that's inland and the coastal areas, and it's funny, Gauteng's catching up as a major donor in terms of a province. So we have a lot of support. Obviously those people go to the coast in summer, so they see the benefits of having a service like ours. And then people leave bequests and legacies, and so there's a diverse base of fundraising to be able to manage that in a year.
But do you have stations at dams, for argument's sake, or not really?
Increasingly so. So the funny thing is, in South Africa, probably there's more boating on freshwater than there is at the sea. I mean, the sea is probably not as safe. Perhaps the water's not protected, but there's probably more boating on freshwater. So we've got boats on the Baal Dam, Hartbeespoort Dam, Witbank Dam, and we'll be looking at more freshwater space in the future, definitely.
Yeah, and that's why I asked that question, because you're talking about the donations from the Gauteng-based people, and I'm wondering if it's not related to the presence on the dams.
It is in some way, but I think they all have, boats or houses that they use at the coast in summer mainly. That's probably their motivation. And, better than that, I think our marketing and our exposure is very good. People see us, every day. We're out there, we're doing rescues. The brightly colored boats are very visible. I think the effort that our volunteers make is incredible, and that's very visible to people. And they appreciate the effort that those volunteers are making, and therefore we have that, donor base.
But even the little stall in the waterfront has lots of feet traffic, and often you walk past and you see people buying branded NSRI clothing.
It's very popular. I mean, I think the other thing that stimulates the nations are the stories. You know? And every rescue, there's a story behind it. So there are a lot of instances, where people read those very emotive stories of how people get rescued at sea, and what it means to those families. And I think that spurs people on to donate.
So how do people donate, Cleve?
So all the ways that I've mentioned, but probably the easiest way is to sign up on a debit order, which is 25 or 50 Rand a month. And then, it comes off silently every month. I mean, most people can afford 25 Rand a month, and that largely sustains us.
So they go on to www.nsri.co.za.
Correct, and just click on the donate button and take you through there. Or there's a call center, give your details and they'll give you a call.
Okay, last thing, the emergency numbers, just remind us again.
We currently, for water-wise, we're using 10177 in the rural areas. So for farming areas, 10177. And then at the coast, we're using 112 on the cellular network. So we've created an emergency number system now. You can dial 112 in your cell phone, and it goes through to the Maritime Rescue Coordinating Center in Tygerberg, and they then dispatch us.
Perfect. Cleve, thank you for your time. Thank you for
Absolute
all the work
pleasure.
that
Thank
you
you
guys
very
do. Remember, donate 50 Rand to the NSRI. I hope you do too. Let's take a short ad break. See you now. Welcome back to Sports Federation TV. I'm Elton Davids, and we chatted a bit about NSRI. We're moving now to a bit of inland stuff. We're chatting karate. Hoosain, good evening. Welcome.
Hi Alton, thank you for having us on your show.
Alex, I'm a bit scared for you with that belt. You well?
I'm good.
Good. Hoosain, tell us why are you dressed in this wonderful gear? What is the code of sport, and why this particular outfit?
The white pajamas is reminiscent of not sleeping but karate. Both of us practice karate and have been practicing it for a while.
Okay, so what is this outfit called, Alex?
It's called a gi.
A gi. What's the symbolic meaning behind the word gi?
Because it's karate comes from Japan, so the word gi comes from dogi, which is the name of a uniform in Japanese. So we just call it a gi or dogi,
Okay.
the uniform of the way.
Now my understanding is there's 3 types of karate. Which one do you practice? Let's start there. First tell me what 3 there are.
That's a tricky question. Actually, there's 4 major styles of
Okay.
karate as recognized, and then the 5th one would be for the full contact styles. So there are actually many types of karate, but 2 predominant types are the semi-contact or non-contact and the full contact.
And the traditional, is that not a style on its own, or because that's I understand karate to be those 3?
It's a tricky question because what is tradition?
Okay.
I'm following the traditions of my teacher.
Okay.
So all is traditional because we bow, we follow Japanese customs, and to say that anyone is more traditional than the other can be a bit of a misnomer.
Okay, so that's because often you hear, like you'd say there's 5 different styles. Someone's told me there's 3, and then you get different styles within non-contact
Yes.
or semi-contact.
There's actually many different styles, hundreds of them.
Is that based on your whoever the teacher is, whatever he decides, he creates a name, and that's how it works down the line?
Just to elucidate on that, the karate that I do is called Ashihara karate, and it was formed by my teacher, who was Mr. Ashihara. He left another style, formed this karate, and it became a style.
Okay.
So yes, and because of that, there are many styles.
But they're all pure in their own form, and they all conform to some Japanese, Chinese theory in a roundabout way.
Yes, one would say so.
Okay. So where do you guys practice? Where's your dojo? All of those kinds of details. It's called the dojo, right?
Yes, the dojo is do, like I said earlier, with the dogi. Do is way, the jo is the place, the dojo is the place where we train. We train primarily in the southern suburbs, but we have schools all over South Africa and now in fact the world. But our main branch is in Grassy Park, and then throughout the day we teach at schools, creches, kindergartens and things like that.
Okay, so take me through the schools and creches part of things first, before we get to the club stuff. So what do you do at schools?
This is where Alex comes into, because he is one of our coaches. We actually go to, and using one school, Square Hill, as you know, schools don't have PT anymore. So the school employs us to teach karate to its children, and every period we get a class. And for 30 minutes we drill them,
Okay.
teaching them physical fitness as well as karate skills and self-defense skills. But more importantly, to teach them discipline. And the school has said there's a remarkable increase in mannerism and things at the school.
Okay, Alex, so take me through a typical class session. What would you do?
Oh, it's like a light warm up. You get to you play. This is playing. So you play like a self defense for half an hour with the kids. Playing self defense, something for the street men. Like someone approaches you, you're gonna quickly take them down or get out of the situation as soon as possible. But it's more about the discipline also, getting the children to listen and stuff like that. Because if you listen, you can learn. That's the most important thing.
And I think that's the key to sport, is that any sporting activity, no matter whether it's karate, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, you need to exercise discipline. And that should transcend into other aspects of your life.
Yes, and especially when one looks at today where corporal punishment is a no-no. Children are growing up without parents at home, so the discipline is much more lax. And parents especially send their children to karate to enhance that discipline. When our students come in at the door, they say, because we do Japanese karate, they say, "Onigai shimasu," which means please teach me. Then they enter, if they enter the club, if they are late, they go to the side, do 10 push-ups, sit on their knees, and then say in Japanese, "Please excuse me." So already they're learning some form of discipline and respect. And only when the instructor say join the class, can they join the class.
Which is brilliant.
So, you know, it helps in that discipline aspect.
Alex, where other than schools, what other involvement what is yours?
I do all the creches, daycares, aftercares and stuff like that there. It's like a lot of, quite busy.
Okay, so in the aftercare, what do you do? The same type of thing that you do in the class time?
It's slightly different. It's coordination, balance, discipline also. But more coordination, balance for kids, man, like hand-eye coordination. We walk a tennis pool, a beach pool. Just things to make them, make it fun, but you learn still.
Do you find that that's changed over the years, that people have less coordination, less balance?
Yes, it is. It's actually dropped a lot. So by targeting the younger kids, the kids kids, it's actually very good to actually to implement that at the early age for them.
If I could, because children are not playing outside as they used to, you find that they are lost. They lack essential skills of agility, balance, coordination, a whole lot of things.
Yeah, because the only thing they're using are their two thumbs.
Yeah.
On the phone, on the iPad, all of those kinds of things. In the past, kids used to play outside, and if you follow the long-term participant development plan, from the age of 3 till 10, they should be doing experimental learning, playing outside, doing all those kinds of things, which doesn't happen by and large in a general sense. Why? Because of crime, because people are caught inside, they don't want the kids to play outside, and those kinds of things. And it's great what you guys are doing. You're not only teaching them karate, you're teaching them life skills.
Yes,
on how to manage balance, how to hand-eye coordination, which is important in a general sense. So let's step off from that. What happens after that? Do they move into a club space?
Yes, because our schools and creches are during the day. All the children can come and train at our evening classes at the dojo or on Saturdays, which many do. And then once they get there, they get exposed to tournaments, training camps, gradings, all those things, and then they feed up into the all-style circuit, where competition and all those other things come to the forefront.
Okay, we're talking about the competition side, but before we get there, let's take a look at the kata. Let's see what it's all about. Let's check it out.
Now, go. Again. Six. Good.
So that's what happens in a dojo, by and large.
Yes, we either practice forms in the air or against the simulated hostility of a training partner.
Hostility, simulated hostility.
Yes. In essence, karate is a fighting art. So we do have to prepare our students for the mean streets, and by putting them under pressure in the dojo, hopefully it will provide the vehicle for them to protect themselves outside.
And that's ultimately the aim, is discipline, protection, and commitment.
And to provide them with some form of fitness training, so that they can get past the thumb games.
Okay, which makes a complete change and a complete growth in a human being.
Yes, I would say so, and possibly where our school differs too is that we don't see ourselves just as a sporting structure, but also as an educational institution. Our kids must bring their school reports, we monitor that they do well, so, and create role models amongst the students so they can develop better.
Okay, so I've got a hint of something that happened, that a little party trick that you do. I'd like to call it a party trick. And it's something that is a mental thing more than a physical thing, I would think. I want you to have a look and see and tell me what you think. Let's check this out.
Hi, I'm JP Nordia from Cape Rugby TV. Join me every Wednesday at 9 p.m. for the latest on rugby in Western Province. We focus on club rugby with selected match highlights, great tries, top interviews, the latest logs, results and fixtures, fantastic competitions, social media and fan interaction. Join me and our panel of rugby experts as Cape Rugby TV finally brings local rugby to the masses. It's Cape Rugby TV every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. right here on Cape Town TV.
The young Rambo, I would say. Why would you, how long ago was that taken? How long ago did you do that trick?
That particular one was my 13th time. That was in 1996 and it was done in the Seychelles. But the first time I did it was as a 17-year-old. Now you spoke about mental tricks like that. I wouldn't recommend anybody to try tricks like that.
I definitely wouldn't.
But at that time I used to do 1,000 sit-ups in a go.
Sure.
And maybe just now, I'm much older now, but there's still some semblance of a six-pack. I wouldn't encourage anybody to do that unless you train really hard. There was a lot of other preparations that went with it. Mentally, you need to be strong. So yes, it was challenging, but I did that to prove to myself the mind is stronger than matter or the body. And if you can apply that in anything, then nothing is impossible.
What was the significance of you doing that? Was it just because you wanted to prove that point, or was there other reason for it?
To understand that, you have to go deeper into my background. I came from a disadvantaged background due to the past government, things like that. Learning was not easy. I had to struggle to improve my qualifications, and I wanted to show that I could do things that what other people considered humanly impossible. So by showing students that I could do that in the general public, and I'm a small guy, you could say that anything is possible. And I teach my students, don't say I can't, rather say I'll try. And if you try, perhaps you will succeed.
What's the definition of failure? Not finishing something and not continuing.
No, not having tried.
Absolutely, absolutely. Having come through the school of thought, where do you go from there? Do you go to a Western Province, Western Cape Champs, and obviously international competition thereafter? What is your kind of, in a general sense, success rate? Is that your aim, firstly?
No, tournaments play a secondary role in my training. Those are just as a cherry on top. Seeing the development of the students is more important. Seeing how they develop. In Japanese, it's called ningen karate, human karate. I had 2 of my students that was head boy, head girl at SP, for example. Both of them passed with 6 distinctions.
Wow.
Now, when I see that, that's much more of value than creating a champion that might not have the human skills.
Absolutely.
So the tournament is important. We have had good successes. At times, a lot of the Western Province team comes from our dojo. But that's not the aim of karate. That's just, like I said, a by-side of training.
Okay. Let's take a short clip of what international competition is really all about. Let's check this out. That was quite interesting, Hoosain, watching the different styles all in one venue. I mean, and that's what tournaments are about, really.
Yes, that's correct. And by the way, that was our 30th anniversary of my school, which I opened in 1980, and we celebrated that by having a World Cup.
Okay.
So it was rather cool in that we had a lot of, not only different countries coming, but different schools and presenting what karate is all about.
Okay. Let's take a short ad break, and when we come back, these two guys in their pajamas are going to show you something exciting. See you now. Welcome back to Sports Federation TV. We thought we'd do something a little bit different. We thought we'd give you a live demonstration. Hoosain and Alex, show us one. Show them your moves.
Thank you.
Sure. Quite impressive stuff here. Sure. Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, I'm tired. No. I'm tired just watching you guys. This must have been something different. Hoosain, Alex, thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us a demonstration. We appreciate the effort that you put in at club level, at preschool level, teaching kids discipline. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Let's take a short ad break. We'll see you now. This is Sports Federation TV. I am tired just watching these, having just watched a live demonstration of a few of the techniques of karate. What was interesting is that these guys just did it effortlessly, and yet I was out of breath and just thinking about what they were doing, throwing each other around, kicking each other. It's not something I would nor ordinarily do on a day-to-day activity. Those guys, that's their bread and butter. We were with the NSRI earlier, we did a bit of karate, and now we're getting back into the water. During this current week, the World Mirror Sailing Championships is taking place out at the Theewaterskloof Dam. We were out there, we caught up with some of the action of the opening ceremony where the community came out in support of this event which they showcased a range of different countries who came out to participate in this world-class event. As you may or may not know, the current champions are South Africa, and they are defending their title. What was one of the interesting things that I observed during this entire opening ceremony was the fact that each country bought water from their hometown. And with this water, they poured it into a brass bowl, and they took all that water and poured it into the competition waters at Theewaterskloof. And I wonder what the significance of that was. And then it was unveiled and revealed that each country brings a bit of their own water so that they race on their own water. So give them that sense of security, that sense of comfort that they brought their own water with them and that they're participating in homes, on home turf, for want of a better understanding. Give them that home advantage feeling. And that was quite significant because I've never seen or heard that done in any other sport, for that matter, across the world. Let's take a look and see the opening ceremony. As you can see, Theewaterskloof is renowned for its windy conditions, and that makes sailing even the more better out on those waters. This week has been interesting. I know that the competition has been stiff, and as we await the results coming up tomorrow, we know that it looks like South Africa is posed to win this competition. It was fun being there. It was interesting meeting people from all walks of life, all different countries, and what was interesting is that everybody came there with a different perspective of what South Africa was all about. And what made it even more spectacular is that everybody believed that, or some of the foreign countries believe that in South Africa, there are still wild animals running around the street. I mean, really. Can people be like that? Anyway, we've come into the end of an exciting and interesting show. Remember, we'd like you to support the NSRI. Go to their website, www.nsri.co.za. Pledge at least 25 Rand. You never know when you may be the person needing help out in the water or in the dam. All that's left for me to say is have an awesome weekend, play hard, be safe. Thank you for watching. See you next Friday, same time, same place, 9 o'clock. Cheers.